Hey everyone, before we get started, take a second to like and subscribe to the show.
It's the best way to help us share great information with more people. Thank you.
You smell something, you notice something, or you see a near miss fall, and now you got to bring it up. How do you talk to someone about bathroom hygiene or safety concerns without embarrassing them or shutting down the conversation? And that is exactly what we are unpacking today.
We're so lucky to have here back with us again Maria Lindbergh, MOTOTR, ECHM. She is the owner of Toilet Talk, an online resource with candid toileting tips and bathroom solutions to make your bathroom beautiful and safe for a lifetime. You can get your free grab bar guide to customize grab bar placement next to the toilet at toilettalk.me. And Maria, thank you so much for being here with us today. Yay, we're happy to have you back.
Thank you for having me. I love talking to you guys on CareLab.
We love having you here on CareLab. So this is an awkward conversation to have.
By definition.
By definition, yes, this is super personal. I mean, how do we get started with this?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'll tell you how it came up. I was talking to a person who owns a local company where they provide in-home care services. So he oversees a staff of personal care attendant, and he explained to me how difficult it can be for these care attendants to address things that they may see. So they may be going into a home and they notice that the person they're helping is maybe not cleaning up thoroughly after they go to the bathroom. They may notice a smell, maybe some soiled clothing. Maybe they notice that person is having a hard time getting in and out of their shower, and they're concerned that they're going to fall and maybe have to call 911. So that could be really challenging for those people who they're not trained to know what to do next. You know, we're all occupational therapists, and for us, we can clearly okay, we know what to do. We know the right words to say. But for some others, they're not trained to tactfully dance around that topic. So something that I shared with him is being able to compassionately and empathetically go to that person to say, hey, I've noticed that your pants are a little bit soiled after you go to the bathroom. It seems like you're having a hard time with that. I know somebody who I could call in to help out with those kinds of issues. Are you interested? And just kind of making it like an invitation to hey, I'm noticing these things. I care about you. And I know who to turn to ask for help.
Yeah, I love how you broke that down because it's not actually about the exact words. People don't need to go back and rewind and say exactly what you said. But if they can use those three components, like you just said, demonstrate that you care about it, do it in a tactful way, and then also make sure that there's a end goal in mind. Like I have a solution or I have a way for us to get to a solution. Then it helps people be like, okay, does not necessarily have to be a thing that I'm embarrassed about. And it's not like fifth graders saying, ugh, who farted? Why does this stink? That's a completely wrong way to go about it. But if you come at it with a softer tone and an understanding one, it can be seen as something like, oh, somebody actually notices and cares. I liken it to if you are talking to somebody and you see they got something in their teeth or something,
Yeah.
and some people would just not want them to be embarrassed and just won't say anything. Whereas I'm like, it's embarrassing that it goes past me. So let me just let you know briefly so that you can deal with it and then we can keep moving on. So I guess the question would be if somebody right now is listening and feels like, okay, maybe that makes sense for a care provider because they are there to provide care, even if they're not trained to have this conversation. But there is a clinical-ish type relationship happening. But what happens if it's my sister or my brother or my mom? How do I deal with that?
Oh my gosh. Well, Emilia, before we were recording, you were talking about a strategy that you have for your own family members. Do you want to talk about that? Or I'm happy to give another example.
Well, I think, sure, I won't give super specifics, but what I will say is that there are different dynamics in every family, and information and there's not a right or wrong here, but we all have different types of relationships with all of our family members. And so you might have a relationship with one of your family members where you're really good about talking about sensitive things or sharing advice or making recommendations, and that kind of goes back and forth really well. And then you might have other family members where like you butt heads more. And so, but then there might be other people in your family who that person that you butt heads with, they, this sibling or their, spouse or their aunt, whoever it is, has that more like open relationship with them. So I think it's important to think about how you're utilizing the natural dynamics of your family in order to successfully communicate something that needs to be communicated, not because you're trying to be like manipulative or get around things, but because different communication is received differently from different people. And from a place of love, you want to make sure that your family members that they're okay, that they're cared for, that they're able to care for themselves, right? So like maybe you don't have a great relationship with, let's say, your dad or something, or you do, but your dad is not someone
This
who
is not the
listens to
things you talk
you.
about. Yeah.
He doesn't listen to you, right? That happens sometimes. You could be the biggest expert on something in the world, and sometimes maybe your dad says like, no, you're my baby, I don't listen to you. But on the other hand, your uncle has that relationship with your dad, and you'd be like, hey, uncle, I think we both noticed these things. Do you think that you can bring this up with dad? Right. So again, it's sort of understanding how to navigate our different family dynamics in ways that result in continued positive communication and relationships at the same time that we're kind of getting the things done that need to be done. Hopefully that made sense and was clear enough. I think that the other thing to consider here that I would add to that is a lot of times, like at higher standards, when I'm talking about having difficult conversations, whether it's as like a family member or professional non-medical caregiver, like I talk about like the 2 T's, timing and tone. Like, when are we addressing these things and what tone are we using to address these things? Are we addressing things out in public where in front of multiple people where someone would feel embarrassed about that, right? Or are we making sure that we're doing this in private where someone is not going to feel like their vulnerabilities are on display? Are we using a tone that says, oh, I'm feeling sorry for you, or I'm disgusted by you, or whatever it is? Or are we using a tone that says like, hey, stuff happens, this is matter of fact, I care about you, let's figure it out? And so I think that thinking about those things can be really helpful for awkward conversation.
Oh, totally. Totally. Yeah, I know, especially about going back to the family dynamic. So I was a caregiver for my grandparent, and there's definitely a difference between like how I approached my grandmother versus my grandfather. And they were both of the greatest generation, but also that generation doesn't talk about, or didn't, I mean, for the very few who are left, they don't talk about personal issues. They're not really complainers. And so with my grandmother, we had a close enough relationship where she'd come and she'd say like, Mimi, I don't feel safe like getting in and out of my tub. I feel like I'm going to fall. And so I'd be like, okay, got you, grandma. Like, let me throw some grab bars and put a tub transfer bench in there and a long handled shower head. And she was like very happy and good to go. And my grandfather did not come to me and say like, I'm scared in my shower too, I'm gonna fall. Also, you would just see him like lose his balance everywhere, and that was a time where I could say, hey grandpa, I see you losing your balance a lot. It makes me think about your shower. How are you feeling in there? Like inviting him. And he usually said, good. He's good, good. Nothing's ever a problem. And then when I was like, well, I have a couple of ideas for your shower. Like, can we talk about it? And so then I went in there with him and I'm like, I'd like to put a grab bar right here and then a shower chair for you. And then he was like, yeah, okay, let's try it. Let's be good. And then we did it. He was very happy because he could sit down and shower and not lose his balance. He never fell in the bathroom. So we were very happy about that. He fell other places, but not.
I was about to say, you said that very intentionally.
Yeah.
Not in the bathroom though.
In the bathroom, but other places. So yeah, so it can be kind of tricky to navigate that. And then when I worked in skilled and in acute, you can see like if you're a paid caregiver and you're going into a home, you can look at family members and you can clearly identify like who your patient or who the person you're working with, who they're more likely to talk to. Are they going to be more open to the daughter, more open to the son? You have family or patients who say like they're the boss, like they'll point to their adult child and be like, they're the decision maker, they're the boss, whatever. So it can be like you can take your concerns to that person and say like, this is how, your dad's doing this, and this is a solution that could really help them with their safety in the bathroom or with their personal hygiene.
I also think that like we kind of brushed over the fact that, oh, we're all OTs and we know how to say this. But I don't think I knew how to talk about this very well when I was a new grad
Ooh.
or earlier in my career. And so I'm interested to know what you guys' suggestions are for ways to bring it up. Like I know timing and tone are still ultimate, but it's also about changing habits, right? And so while you might have done one thing one way for the last 50 years, we now need to do something a little bit differently because of XYZ. And that's sensitive no matter what the topic is, even if it's not about the bathroom. And so this comes to mind because I was just having this kind of conversation with a client who didn't really have great insight into the challenges that they were having. And so one of the tricks that I have for that is often to, hey, I had this other lady who also had macular degeneration. And what we ended up doing was XYZ, and that really helped her out a lot. How do you think about that? Even though that's exactly what I want her to do, but it's not me telling her what to do. It's me saying, like, I got solutions to your point, Maria, and do you want to apply these solutions? So, like, do you guys have any other tips or tricks that have helped from a clinical standpoint?
Well, I think kind of to maybe piggyback a little bit off what you were saying, it's important, I think, to approach these conversations from like a partnership perspective versus an expert perspective. Even though, like, if clinically I'm talking to someone, technically I'm the expert in the room, but I'm the expert on OT stuff, right? That doesn't make me the
Yeah,
expert on that person or how
or their
that
life.
person is, or their life, or how they're going to feel about that. And so I think that if we want to help facilitate change that people will actually engage in and that they're going to be active participants in, then we need to approach it from a partnership perspective, just like the example that you just gave, right? Like you made a suggestion, but you also asked, what do you think about that? Is that something that could work for you, right? And ultimately, I think that when we approach things from a partnership perspective, that makes it much more likely that we're going to get anywhere, with the person that we're working with. I think that's a lot harder when we're talking about our families and our loved ones. Maria, do you want to talk about that?
Well, no, that's just in general. I mean, oh man. Yeah, I was joking earlier about wishing how my parents listened to me. But I wanted to also talk about like, yeah, as a new grad, no, I didn't have that skill set. That's something that you have to learn. And I've made so many blunders and did not approach things well. So it is definitely a learning process. But for new grads, yeah, I totally agree, Emilia. I tell people like, you are the expert on your life. I'm here to give you options and plant seeds, and then you get to pick and choose what's going to work best for you. And so as a new grad, or just if there are any new grads listening or any caregivers, like a free resource that I have on my website, it's my hard time wiping Let's Talk a Booty It course, where people, if they are having a hard time wiping, then I lay out some options that they can pick and choose. And so that can be something as like, if you're a new grad, you could just introduce like, here's this free course, you can take it. Or as a new grad, I took this free course and here's some things from the course that I learned that could work for you. Or as a caregiver, you could say like, hey, Gerald, yeah, I'm seeing that you're having a hard time wiping. Here's this.
Can I just jump in and say that Gerald is the best example name I've ever heard someone give? Because I've never heard someone give Gerald as the example name before, but I love it. Okay, sorry, continue.
I mean, when you work with so many Geralds, it's just those people pop back out and they're always on my mind. I'm like, Gerald, I hope you're doing well today after you took the hard time wiping Let's Talk a Booty It course. But yeah, just being able to say like, hey, do you want to watch this together? Or, just having those free options. Or let's have you had occupational therapy in your home before? Home health therapy? Have you gone to asksammy.com? Have you gone to asksammy.com to look at some bathroom solutions for to be safer? So those are strategies. If I was a new grad, those are the things that I would, or a caregiver, talk about, because I, at that point in time, if I didn't have any of this OT knowledge, then, and I be like, I'm not going down this path with you. I'm not going down this, like, we're going to talk about toileting solutions because I have no idea what I'm talking about. I would just be like, here are the resources. Go forth. If you choose to use them, that's great. If you don't, that's okay too. Like, we're all on our own timelines. I know that I don't instantly take other people's advice. And so
Hmm.
you have to give people, that grace too, to be like, okay, they're taking a while. Of course, some of the people we work with have some cognitive impairment, so they may need additional help, and that's okay. But for caregivers or people who don't really know what they're talking about, that is the best way to go. And yeah, back to family dysfunction. Yeah, or not just, well, I'll just call it what it is. Yeah, family not talking or not. Yes, it can be so hard. I love my parents, and they, I cannot approach them as the expert. I cannot do that. It does take a lot of work for me to be able to apply those same principles, like give them grace, they're on their own timeline, they don't have to take my advice right away, giving them options, like doing those kinds of things. I have to be able to do that for them as well. And I think it is very difficult as, an oldest daughter, so oldest daughter syndrome, wanting, like, I know what's best, I'm going to tell you what to do. It can be really hard. I have to check myself. And so also as OTs, like, I had that same issue when I was a new grad too, like, listen to me, I know what I'm talking about, blah 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 blah. It's a very humbling thing to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, you gotta step back,
Yeah, I think I'm honestly like it's so interesting. I think in my, like, as an occupational therapist in clinical practice, I am very good at approaching people from a partnership perspective and, like, just, letting them be the guides. In my family, I am very bad at it. And I mean, just being honest, like, I think if you've ever heard any CareLab episodes before, you've probably at some point have heard me saying, like, oh, no one in my family listens to me. But maybe they don't listen to me because I'm not doing a good job on, like, I'm not personally doing my best job being a good partner in that conversation, because I do have a tendency to show up and be like, hey guys, this is what I do for a living. I'm the expert. You should probably just listen to me, because I don't want to take the time and energy that it takes in order to do the much harder work, actually, of having a partnership style conversation. But it would probably go better if I did. And I say that just because, like, again, recognizing it's really hard. You can be very good at this in one way and have it be so difficult in your own family. That doesn't mean that we can't still, to your point, Maria, try, be aware and be intentional in the way that we approach things, understanding that when we show up as the boss, for some folks, that's just not going to go over well. We have to show up as the partner instead, whatever that means in that relationship.
Oh yeah, totally.
So one of the key things that y'all talked about when we're making these like conversations easier, if we can, is then having a solution. So we talked a little bit about like getting solutions, finding solutions and resources from Ask Sammy and from the Toilet Talk course. But what about like some specific solutions for specific problems? Like what if it is that you notice that the person is not able to wipe themselves well enough anymore, and we smell that or see that? Like, Maria, can you give us a few options for like physically, changing the situation?
Oh man. Well, it's hard for me because I instantly go into OT mode. So it's kind of hard, like, for me as a caregiver. I don't know, maybe we can help, we'll help each other talk through what could be easiest for a caregiver to implement. But if I see somebody having, like, they have soiled clothing, for instance, then I'd say, like, oh, okay, I your clothing looks like you got something on there. I'll go back to the bathroom with you, and let's just check and make sure, like, your undergarments are clean, or whatever the case is. So going back into the bathroom, because that kind of lets me know now I'm going to see them, right? Where as OTs, we're trained to observe, observe, observe. And so it's very easy for us to take that and use that language to describe what we're seeing because that's how we document. So I'm able to go in, see how that person, are they having, as we go back into the bathroom, are they able to fully take off their clothing? Are they able to, if I suggest that they clean up a little bit more, maybe use more toilet paper for wiping, are they able to do that on their own or are they struggling? So those are things that I would look at first to kind of give me a better idea. And that's language that I could also give that person to say like, oh, I see, like I noticed that it's hard for you to pull your underwear down more so that you don't get it soiled from when you go to the bathroom, and just talking about that. So as a caregiver, I would kind of stop there and try to give them that language to be like, oh, I think if we call up your doctor, your primary care provider, get a referral for occupational therapy, then they can come and help you with those kinds of things. I'm always just something that seems to be very, or in my experience, easier to help people with like toilet hygiene specifically is using water to clean their bottom. So using some sort of bidet, which I could go on and on about the different types of bidets and what could be useful in certain situations, but I'll just go ahead and stop there. And I want to hear what you guys think, or what are some things that you would tell caregivers on what to do to help people who are struggling with bathroom stuff.
Well, I think it's really helpful that you talked about the fact that they're, like having some observation, if that's possible, can be helpful in the situation. Also understanding that depending on the nature of your relationship, you and your care partner or your loved one, they may not be comfortable with you doing that kind of observation. So asking for a referral to a specialist like an occupational therapist whose job it is as a professional is to go in there and kind of observe those things, that can be, honestly, probably one of the best things that you can do. But just understanding that, like, let's say someone's clothes are soiled. Well, there could be multiple reasons. It could be that they're having a hard time wiping. It could also be that they couldn't get their underpants down quickly enough, right? It could be that maybe they're actually having incontinence issues, and it doesn't have to do with the act of trying to get clean afterwards, but rather, just trying to, maybe there's some urge incontinence or something like that in the first place. So there can be lots of different reasons. And I think that understanding that there can be multiple causes for toileting issues is just a really powerful thing to know, because it allows you to, one, keep an open mind about possible solutions, and then also to understand that sometimes even things that seem like they could be really simple, it can be really beneficial to have a conversation with your doctor, to have a conversation with a therapist, in order to get down to the bottom of what is really going on. Because sometimes people are, we're noticing that there might be some toileting issues, and there could be an underlying medical condition that actually the doctor can solve, or it's an underlying functional condition that the therapist can solve. And then you don't necessarily have to help that person with toileting anymore. Brandy, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think it's like really keen to note that there are often multiple reasons for any problem, and sometimes I see well-meaning caregivers see something that addresses the a part of a problem, like, hey, you need this, or you need to go to do this, but we don't actually figure out like, is that the actual reason for the issue? Like, and it'd be a shame to like have this whole awkward conversation, spend money on a thing, and that's actually not the root of the problem. And so um, I think incorporating occupational therapy is like a really keen way to do this, because it's similarly to what we were talking about before. Sometimes it just takes somebody, not you, saying it. And maybe you do know exactly what the problem is.
Yeah.
But if you've said it and it's not been uh, taken up by the person, it might just be because you're the deliverer of it. And we need somebody else to deliver it. And that's where a third party can come in. And why not have an expert be the third party that can come in? And so, like, the one thing I would want to say for, further future action steps is occupational therapy is covered by insurance. And if your person has insurance, and you can get somebody to come to the home, and you can either have home health come out and see them if that's the right way to go about doing it, or you can have an outpatient therapy service that shows up to your house. It is a thing that's available in pretty much everybody's city. So you should know that those are options for you, and that can be covered by your insurance at the same rate that it would be if you went to outpatient or we're in acute. And I think it's a really underutilized form of occupational therapy that's not like accessed except for when there's an acute problem. We went to the hospital, then we went to the nursing home, and then we went home and we got therapy along the way. Like you can initiate this and you can ask for it from your doctor and it can come to the house to figure it out. And you don't have to be treated for months on end. It could be targeted for that particular bathroom issue and have a few visits and then be done. And so I really want people to understand that you can use occupational therapy in a myriad of ways, and you should initiate that. Don't necessarily wait for somebody to tell you that you need to have it.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Because I feel so strongly that we like occupational therapy services save people money in the long run.
Hmm.
We do have a lot of research in other areas showing that. But instead of buying all of the gadgets and all of the things, like save yourself some money, hire an expert who can help pinpoint the problem, like you're saying. And if there is any equipment needed or anything else needed, then you can go ahead and just wait and buy it then, save yourself some money. But yeah, sorry, Amelia, you had something to say too.
Oh, I was just going to say, I like that you pointed out that often people can get even outpatient therapy services can actually happen in people's homes now. And Maria, I wanted to ask you a little bit about, or to talk a little bit about, like the benefits of having specifically a toileting evaluation occur in the home versus out in a clinic.
Oh my gosh, night and day difference is what you because you know what, as imaginative as us occupational therapists are, we never really know what the heck is going on until we see somebody in their actual home environment. And I love, this is my favorite example to give. My mother had an elective knee surgery coming up, and this was about 5 years ago. So I said, hey mom, let me see how you get in and out of your tub shower, like let's just get it set up, for the, she's very independent, like on her own. But in my mind, I'm like, let's be prepared for like the worst possible, or not worst possible, but you know what I mean. If she were to need a
Yeah.
lot more assistance, I'm so
Hmm.
eloquent with my words. But anyway, she gets into the shower how I would think most people would, and she got in, just one leg at a time. She put the strong leg in first, and not the hurting knee. And then when she's getting out of the shower, she does this weird like twirling, like stepping over, holding onto a robe hook on the wall. I was just like, I never would have guessed that's how she was getting out of the tub shower. And I was like, I just laughed because it was so ridiculous. And I was like, of course this is how you get. Of course this is like the weirdest way for you to get in and out of the shower. And I can judge my mom, it's fine. But anyway, but so you never know how people are moving around in their bathroom. Like as humans, we're very creative. Like I've seen people solve, like have their own solutions to things, and it gets the job done. Is it the best? That, are there better things that could be done? Yes, but they don't know that. And so to have it in when you have somebody show you, like when I've gone into people's homes, and I'm usually like, hey, if you have to go to the bathroom, that's great. If you don't, that's okay too. Like I'm not forcing people to go to the bathroom when I get into their home. But I'm like, hey, I'd just like to see.
It's quite a way to introduce yourself to someone, though, isn't it?
Hi.
Hi. Hi,
I've
my name's
introduced
Emilia. I'm your occupational therapist, and now I'd like to see you use the toilet.
Yeah. It is so awkward, but it's also so like working in sniff and a queue. I've done that.
Oh yeah,
Like you're in the middle
hundreds
of
of
the shower,
times.
people totally naked. I'm like, hey Maria, I'm here to do an evaluation, and wow, let's get
Yeah,
started. Like you're
yeah,
great. You're on the toilet. Awesome.
yeah. Perfect timing.
Perfect
Really?
timing.
Yes.
You're already in the bathroom? Awesome. This is what
This
we're going to
works.
do anyway. So,
This works for me.
Yeah.
You've never met me before, but this is great.
Yeah. People love that. But yeah, No, so very different approach in the home where it's like if you want, but I just need to see like how you do things, and that usually goes better. Whereas if you are in, so I talk being in outpatient setting, skilled nursing facility. I realize I've been saying SNF and not telling people what that is. Skilled nursing facility, like nursing home. Those kind of like being in the hospital, those places are more likely to be set up so that that person is more independent and taking care of themselves. So for instance, there may be a grab bar next to the toilet so that it is easy for that person to get on and off, but that's not how most people's homes are set up. And so what you're going to be seeing in an outpatient setting or something outside the home is going to look totally different from being in person.
Yeah, I love that you explained it that way. And that's why I think occupational therapy is done best in the home, because all the other settings, we're just like trying to make up what home looks like and do the best job we can from where we have you at. And that's like commendable. But there's just been so many times that I've walked into a house and seen, for example, a perfectly good bathroom. And I assumed that that's the one that they use. And actually, they use this other bathroom down the hall because this bathroom is my husband's bathroom. And I don't use that because I don't want to have to clean it and he's a mess. And I go all the way down the hall. And like I would have never gathered that information from an interview in the hospital, right? They would have just said, I get up, I go to the bathroom. They would talk to me about that bathroom. But it's actually really important that the bathroom you use is all the way down the hall and your bedroom is over here, right? Like now you've had a knee surgery. It hurts to walk. Now, are we going to take the effort to go all the way to that bathroom? No, we need to start using this bathroom. Okay, that's a totally different thing to think about. How are we going to access it? Like, I never even use it, and I'm okay with using it for now, but like, let's work through that. And so that's just like another example of like, it's not only how you do the thing, but it's like where you do the thing, how you get to the thing, and those all are factors that play into like what your capabilities are. If you don't get to see somebody do that, then you're not necessarily diagnosing the right problem and coming up with the right solution for them. So yeah, doing it within the space is super important, and you have the capacity to do that with an expert in a couple of different ways when you use an occupational therapist. And so that's why we are screaming it from the mountaintops that y'all should use an OT to help solve these problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, we've covered a lot here today. Sorry, Maria, go ahead.
Oh no, nope. That's all I got to say.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we've covered a lot here today. We've shared a lot of information. What do y'all think are the top maybe like 3 to 5 takeaways that listeners can have? Starting with, okay, we have someone, so where we see someone who is maybe having some trouble toileting. Like, what are the top things that someone should keep in mind?
I love your timing and tone because I feel like that's easiest to remember. Like, how do I bring up this issue to this person, and being mindful of like, when's the right time? Is it when they're panicked, standing in the living room, or when they're sitting down resting, or whatever. And then the tone coming from a place from like, I care about you and I want you to know about this. And then I'm jokingly saying pass the buck, but what I mean by that is like saying, hey, I know a solution. You can ask for occupational therapy services. You can have somebody who is an expert with these issues in the bathroom, whether it's safety or toileting or bathing or whatever the issue is. You could do that. So timing, tone, pass the buck.
And I will add place and space. So
Ooh.
yes, we had a good timing. Yes, please do pass the buck, and also consider the place that we are doing this in. If there's ways to do it in a different place or in a different way, just understanding and observing, I guess is what I'm trying to say before we make a proclamation about what needs to be done.
All right. So, listener, if you made it to the end of this episode, oh wait, actually, sorry, there's something else I need to do. Maria, we've talked a little bit about this, but I think that there are quite a few resources on toilettalk.me that would also be helpful for this. Would you just kind of get a nice summary to wrap us up here about what people can find on your website?
Yeah, I feel like the resource most pertinent to this conversation is the free Hard Time Wiping Let's Talk a Booty It course. So that helps people with some positioning, like how should we sit on the toilet? What can help us be better? But also tools and changes that could be made to the bathroom to make it easier for people to take care of themselves and be safer on the toilet. So you can head on over to toilettalk.me. In the resources tab, it'll come up as course, and you're good to go.
Amazing. Maria, thank you so much, as always, for being back with us on CareLab. I'm sure we'll have you back again soon because we love you.
I love you.
And we think you're the best.
Absolutely.
Listener slash viewer, if you made it to the end of this episode, please take a moment to like, subscribe, share. Please leave a comment and review. Those are the best ways to help this content find other people who would benefit from it. Until next time, we'll see you right back here on CareLab. Bye.
Bye, everybody.